Hello, Diargos here. Welcome back to my Factorio series. Okay, so lots have happened. I just hit the 15 million mark, so we've got 5 million more to go. Basically, what I did was I did a lot of off-camera work, but it was very tedious, just repetitive stuff. Nothing really new to describe or talk about there. I will just point out what I did though, but I didn't think it was good to show it necessarily because there's probably like 3 hours worth of maintaining, but not all at once. So first I let it run overnight for like 8 or 9 hours, and it got to I think 13 million or 14 million, and then I've been letting it run as well today on and off as I kind of work on some stuff or just kind of leave it going. The big thing has been resources. I did get a breach in the wall. I don't know exactly what I talked about in the last episode, but let me just point out a few things. I had a breach up here. Where was it? Somewhere up here where they actually tore down this wall and a piece of this wall, and they were just attacking. They destroyed some lasers up here. I added a bunch of belt to help fight against that, and I haven't had any issues up there since. Also down here in this corner, they've been attacking a lot. They've been eating away at the belt, which is fine, but here they were relentless until I added all this belt here, and it seems like once I add belt they kind of don't attack as often. So this patch you can see I had to extend out the wall, and surprisingly I haven't been having too many problems. It's under attack right now, but I do have double lasers just all in this kind of region right here, so we'll see. This is going nice and strong. You can see this copper is almost out, but I added this little copper down here. This copper is pretty much completely gone. Still, that one's still good. That's newer. I added copper lines from the main bus, so you can see there's a copper line there. So now I've got 2 copper, and we'll look at that. And then I just added this big copper deposit here, and instead of routing it up there, I've routed the ore. I just finished routing it through the main bus, or under the main bus, and kind of basically just right through the middle of the base, all the way up here, and I just finished connecting it up like so. So that's 3 full lines. It's actually supposed to be a little over 3 full lines, like 2 minors over maybe. And then I gave each side or each train station their own belt. So that was pretty strong a second ago. It just finished unloading. So the problem is these don't. They load, they dump a bunch of ore, it's full for maybe a minute, and then it's empty again. So hopefully this will help. Also, you can see that my train station is working quite nicely. I know it looks like it's all clogged up, but this guy was here for a while, and then this guy came in and stopped. So that means the signals are working. This guy came in and stopped. So they're trying to snake around stuff, but sometimes, like with iron, since I have so much iron right now, it's just not always going to be pretty. But let's see, this guy should go next. Then, it looks like, let's see what happens. Okay, very nice. So that was good to see that worked. And then he'll stop. Okay, great. All right, so see, that kind of cleaned things up, and now I should have a lot of copper coming up. I also spent a lot of time off camera just tearing down. I know I showed some of it, but like this is completely gone. There's some patches there that I missed, but I pulled all that up to recycle it, as well as the copper, the original copper deposit. You can see where I've diverted off the main bus, both iron and copper. I depowered everything over here. Oh, and we're currently producing at a really great rate, 12,000 per minute. That's excellent. That's really good. Remember, back when I was at 7 million or 8 million, it was going to take 5 to 6 hours at a rate of 45,000. But obviously now I'm at 15 million, so it's not going to take that much longer. Maybe I'll do the math on that. So this is going really well over here. There are some changes. You can see that I'm using pretty much all of my logistic bots. I know it says like 150, but that'll go down to 0 and then it'll go up. I don't understand exactly why it dips like that sometimes, like what their queue logic is, but I did stop producing them. I have a whole chest full of logistics spots, but I'm stopped putting them in here for right now. just, I think because one, I don't want to overwhelm it, but also it's not quite at 0 a lot. It does kind of go down, but it doesn't really stay there. So I added, I don't know if this was on camera, but I added some more copper. And so we've been having this back and forth thing where either the bots are focusing on copper, and you'll see like a copper cable everywhere. You can see some of these still have copper cable, or they're focusing on iron, and it's iron, but it's like never both, right? You never see iron and copper in the same one. And I think it's because it's not the bot's logic. It's the fact that these are so fast that you have this like seesaw going back and forth, like kind of like a hot dog hot dog bun package versus a hot dog wiener package. They never add up to the same amount. It's like 8 in one and 12 in the other, something like that. So you can never find this like right balance. Well, it's kind of like that, except that these are eating them so quickly that the bots just don't have a chance to keep up. And I designed this little thing. This is not really a design. It's just it's same as this, but without the modules and without the beacons. And you can see like this is not running, right? You see how fast that is? The bottleneck is not the speed of the assemblers. The bottleneck is material, so maybe productivity modules would still be good to have. But I think these beacons are a waste. They're totally wasted. It's a waste of power, a waste of materials to make them. And if I was doing this all over again, I would set up my design to be like this more, and increase the request amounts so that I'd have like I was going to experiment with that actually, and maybe I'll do that now. But I don't know. I don't want to do that too much because I want to get to another point and why I haven't really upped these too much. But if I had to do it all over again, I would make it like this. I wouldn't even use beacons or speed modules. I would probably still do productivity modules, and here's why. The beacons are not necessary because here is the actual bottleneck. You can see I've got resources coming in, right? But if you look at all of these, none of them, if there's 5 boxes, none of them have anything in 5. They don't get that far down. And if you look at some of these, maybe this one does. Okay, it's got 20 in there. But see, like none of these are filling up. None of them. And it's never been filling up. They are constantly being taken off, right? It's the same for the copper as far as I can tell. I haven't seen any fill up. And at best there's like 20 or 30. It's just whatever the stack inserter grabs basically in like 1 or 2 swings. That's what's left, and the bots immediately take it. So what that tells me is you could do a system like this and go for ultra speed, but you would have to have many more belts coming in, right? I can't do any more with this because you can only do 3 or 4 boxes just to maintain taking them off the belt, and then you have an empty belt, right? Then you have these empty boxes that never get any iron plates in them. So splitting them into more belts, like splitting full belts into half belts, is not going to help, right? They'll just take less off the belt. Going deeper with boxes won't help because then the rest will just be empty, right? What I have to have is just full belts. That's the problem. That's the bottleneck, is the throughput of these resources, either in belts or whatever, off the furnaces and getting processed. And so that would mean more furnace lines, more deposits being mined, more and more belts coming in. Like I'd have to have like belts from here all the way up to the top up here just to keep these chests down here full, just for what I have, let alone to expand it. It would take even more. So there's nothing I can really do to speed this up with this kind of approach. Belts, just belting them in, not using bots, would not really help either, right? Because for one thing, I'd have to not have so many beacons so they wouldn't go as fast. So I'm losing speed in that sense, right? Right now I'm losing speed in the fact that this guy is just not running, right? He's just sitting there. So that's losing speed. But if I take off the beacons and try to belt everything in, I'd still have to have just as many resources. Remember, the problem is not the bots. These logistic bots, I can make more of them, and they're not even getting all used right now. There's still 200 or so on average that are just not being active, which means that it's not that there's not materials for them to move, right? So this did help though. Adding this kind of bumped it up like 2,000 or so per minute, which was nice. But you can see these are not moving either. So it just kind of gives more stuff for the bots to do, I guess. But I pretty much hit the upper limit of what I can. Dang, it's a big attack right there. This is the first like real big attack from here. I think they're gonna start attacking now. I don't know if that base was always there, but that's okay. Even with a breach, if they breach the wall, they're not gonna like go straight down, into my base and start tearing stuff up. They're gonna just take forever to eat this up, and the whole time there's gonna be lasers shooting at them. So my overnight taught me that it's not a big deal to worry about that as long as you have lots of lasers in that area. They'll keep attacking the lasers and dying. It'll take a long time for them to work their way down through that. Okay, so this is my little check-in. I'm only gonna do. I can probably see if there's anything else. I tapped that iron patch, sent it down south. I don't know what else. This is not even running. These green circuits are totally filled up now, and that's fine with me because I decided to divert 3 out of 4 belts for both copper and iron up there to help feed it, and leave 1 belt each for just maintaining this stuff, which I don't even think I need. And I mean, I could theoretically push both these belts up there and get a little bit more going, but then I wouldn't have stuff down there if I needed it, and it wouldn't. The payoff is not worth it, right? It's not as much for all that effort. Anything else that I did? I don't think so. Oh wow, look at that. Putting the belts out is I love the belts. These are so great. So the spitters are still attacking the wall, right? But I haven't had anything get destroyed down here except for belts, and I'd much rather have belts get destroyed than pieces of wall for me right now, or definitely lasers or bots. And if they get close, so like these are not really destroying the bots, the spitters, as far as I can tell. It's when there's no belts. It seems to be when there's a problem. So I would definitely recommend that. Having said all that stuff, I think I'm going to stop here, and I probably want to put this all into one episode. So I'll cut for a while. This will probably be like 18 million or 19 million, and then I'll start recording again and figure out how far away I am from the total. Maybe this will be all in one final episode, I'm guessing, because there's really not a whole lot for me left to do to wait. All I've got, if I want to tap more resources, put some miners there, right? And then mine some copper here and here. And I've got one more patch up there that I could probably do something like that. I mean, that's not even sure if that's worth it. So, I mean, if I do anything really interesting, like this wasn't that interesting. Nothing happened while I was doing it. I just pushed the wall. I mean, that might be a bigger deal, but I think I've laid down enough miners in this series. So I'm just going to let it kind of roll out and finish. So that way I can start playing, 0.15, because I've been really eager to switch over to that, and I would love to start playing with nuclear power. So got to finish this achievement, though, before they up it again to another 10 million, make it 30 million or something like that. All right. Well, see you when I see you. Well, all right, there's the achievement. Let's take a look here, see what we've got. Mass production 3, produced 20 million electronic circuits. Completed 38 of 38, 100%. I didn't do all of these achievements in the series, obviously. I just did, I think, 5 or 6 of them. I did Computer Age 3, and I did Iron Throne 3, and I did Circuit Veteran 3, which is the red circuits. So all of the level 3 ones. and of course mass production 3, which is the final one. I think did the research all technologies. I just never got around to doing that, or the combat follower achievement. So I got all of those as well. Okay, so let's recap real quick before we end this series. This was the mass production series, going after this mass production achievement, of course. What I would do differently if I had to do this again is focus more on bringing in more belts, blue belts, of iron and copper into these kinds of setups. Obviously, I can only do so many boxes in a line, like you can see over here, right? You only got 4 on either side. I could add more boxes, but eventually boxes on the left or downstream would never get anything in them, right? So you can only consume so much from a single belt. That means you have to have more belts, which means you have to have more furnaces and more deposits. To that end, I think the map type was not very conducive to this achievement. Biters were a nuisance the entire time. Pushing them back would have been more difficult. So if this had been on peaceful, it would have certainly been easier. But more than that, if I had more frequently located iron deposits and copper deposits, let's not forget about my single tiny smidgen of a stone deposit that was right here that got me through this entire game. All of that wall from one single deposit with actually plenty to spare. Yeah, so I would probably think about changing that, although that might be considered cheating, but not to me. If it's doable in the game, then it's not cheating. But still possible if you want to do it in not peaceful mode and with not frequent ore deposits. Just have to go out and find them. So key takeaway number 1, more belts in. It doesn't really matter if you have the bots. They're pretty easy to make. You can scale these up really easily. The copper cable. The other thing, takeaway number 2, is I don't think I would really deal with the beacons. Them running faster, you see all this time in between, doesn't really help. What I might change if I was going to use beacons is use the productivity modules in them instead of speed modules, and keep the productivity modules over here. Because of the fact that, again, resources are the key bottleneck, right? So over here, this is actually working pretty well. You can see the speed is different, but it's running about the same. It's like producing about the same. I wish that I could, have a individual assembler production stats like this, but for each, so I can compare to. And to see what they're really producing, right? And maybe like see if these top ones are producing more than the ones down there farther away. But my guess is that they're pretty close. It might not be worth the power cost for all these beacons, because again, if you look at our power, right? Beacons are number 1, 200 megawatts. That's almost a third of my power consumption is just from these beacons and the ones down in oil, right? Yeah, so I would not use those, and definitely use the productivity modules. I think speed is the speed that you lose from the productivity modules you can gain by just adding more, right? And scaling up that way instead of with the beacons. I don't know what I think that's better, because it's all about getting these resources off these belts, processed through or flown to the requester chests, right? That's the bottleneck, not the assemblers themselves. It would take a lot more belts to get to that, to get to these running full time, all of them running just constantly. It would take a lot more. What else do I want to mention? I think for the main bus, obviously, this is the typical main bus design, but if I was doing this again, I would probably a lot more space for the bus, so I could have multiple rows of 4 copper and then like another 4 copper, right? So like 8 iron, 8 copper, maybe something like that. And definitely give more space for the liquids, especially now that we can liquefy, like, so many more resources in the game can be handled. Like here's what I mean. Coal, for example, you can now use to turn into oil, right? So there might be a a bigger need for having a main pipe bus as well, and just give yourself plenty of room to have these crossovers being able to lay down, so you don't have to cram stuff in and do this kind of thing where you're having to snake stuff around. So yeah, that's one thing I would change. I think for the biters, again, combat is going to be changing in 0.15, so it's not a huge deal. But the belt system, which is my first time using the belts, I always kind of avoided them. I thought they were silly, but man, they really, really help. Huge difference. I was getting like constantly attacked over here, and for some reason putting up the belts, they'd like stop attacking. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, they still attack, but it doesn't seem like it's constant for some reason. The other thing is, when they do attack, they might destroy a few belts, but like that's so cheap compared to a laser or just breaching the wall and getting in or something like that. One thing is, if you put belts in those provider chests down there, the bots will try to repair them and then they'll get destroyed. So I wouldn't actually use belts. I would replace the belts manually just from time to time. Definitely want to use the energy efficiency modules. Speed modules are pretty good for oil, but maybe like 2 or 3 other things over here. Productivity modules, very good for the scale up stuff like this, but I don't know if I would use them. I would use the efficiency modules pretty much everywhere else. What else? I really like these designs. This works out pretty well, so I'm definitely going to be using that. Not this design, of course, because now the ratios are changed, but I do like... So a lot of times you see this kind of approach with oil processing is the standard, where you've got like your refineries and then you've got this little these T-junction things, and then you've got the chemical plants in another row, and then you get this. I like this kind of compact. I can scale it up much easier than this because I can do it all together and just get my petroleum gas out, right? And just copy and paste, and hook it up. Another thing for to think about is if you're doing a achievement like mass production where you need to produce a lot of stuff and that's really what your focus is, consider putting your furnaces down either by the big single patch of ore or like in the middle like this one is. It had several around it. They're not there anymore. Just to kind of supplement. That really helped out the supplement stuff. Sending up iron this way and copper down this way. Just like I said before, you have to have a lot of belts coming in. That's the big thing that I underestimated. Something else to think about is save a little bit of resources. Not saving resources, but to kind of spread the load a little bit, you might consider using underground belts like I did here for very long distance stuff. It not only helps just kind of conserve blue belt, because these don't take blue belt, they take red belt, right? Well, they take red belt in the sense that they take red undergrounds, which require the red belt, right? They require red belt. Let's check. Oh no, they don't. So they require yellow belt because those require yellow belt. So these don't require red or blue belt. They just require yellow belt. But that kind of helps because you're saving some cost in that sense. Like you can have more blue belt for this kind of stuff here, but then also it's more performant in that it doesn't have to cycle for these squares here, any ore that's on the belt. It treats them as a group. Anything else? This was not as big of a problem as I thought it would be. I thought it would be all sorts of weaknesses creating a convex, but these trees kind of help buffer that, so keep that in mind. Trees are pretty good walls against spiders. I would say trains are fun, but can be annoying to put up. And for the solar farm, I was generating 1.5 gigawatts with this at its peak, but I'm only using about 650, maybe that at any given instance on average, right? So really, all of this, you can see like this whole base could have run with some blackouts probably every once in a while on about half of these solar arrays. But since they were so easy to install and tile, I would recommend doing what I did and just blowing up your power production and never having to worry about it. I had a few episodes there where I had blackouts constantly because I kind of took it for granted. And then once I sit on top of it, just every once in a while I ran out there and dropped 3 or 4 down. I mean, it's like it was nothing. Never had any issues with power again, and I was able to scale this up, no problem. So definitely recommend that. The chess approach worked out pretty well. These are not that expensive to make at this point in the game, and you can plop them down. I didn't have to do a big square. I could have had rows, make it a little faster maybe. I don't know. Really looking forward to 0.15 now. Atomic bombs and oil changes with coal, and the production rates of oil is now going to be better. The crude oil, I mean. And the minimum is now 0.2 instead of 0.1. Although they also are changing it so that it's going to be every liquid is multiplied by 10, and that's both production and consumption. So it doesn't really change any of the ratios from that. But what it does is it gets rid of having to deal with decimals. So everything is just multiplied by 10, really. It's the same ratios. So that'll be fun. And all the new science stuff and the infinite technology, getting my robots to go faster is going to be so fantastic. I can't wait for that. It's one of my biggest problems with trains is I hate building them because the robots are so slow. But I don't want to lay it by hand either because, I mean, I'm not a peasant. So I think that's going to wrap things up for this series. We got mass production. Wasn't as hard as I thought. Just a little tedious at the end there, having to wait. Just kind of stand around and watch it, maintaining the base. Again, I'm Diargos, and I really appreciate if you've watched the whole series up to this point. That's a lot of episodes to watch. So I do thank you for that, and I look forward to producing more series on Factorio and 0.15, but also some other games like The Long Dark and Stranded Deep and maybe 7 Days to Die. They're definitely on my horizon. I've played all of those since alpha, I think Stranded Deep might still be in alpha, and 7 Days to Die is still in alpha, but that's basically done. That's a great game. Definitely recommend 7 Days to Die. So yeah, we'll be playing those coming up, and obviously more Factorio. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next series.